The gambler's fallacy is the mistaken belief that if an event happens more frequently than normal during a given period, it will happen less frequently in the future, or vice versa. This belief is incorrect, as the probability of an event occurring does not change based on whether it has occurred frequently or infrequently in the past. In reality, every roll of dice, or a flip of a fair coin, or dealing of whole cards in poker are independent events that follow random process. In this video, we are going to talk about the gambler's fallacy in poker and why you should avoid it. The most famous example of the gambler's fallacy occurred in Monte Carlo in August of 1913 when the roulette ball stopped on black 26 times in a row, causing people to lose millions wagering against what they thought to be a hot streak that could not possibly be sustained. This is why the gambler's fallacy is also known as the Monte Carlo fallacy. In poker, no matter what you think, you are not due for anything ever. There is no increase in the likelihood that you will fill your flush just because you have missed the past 20. Having gone 100 hands without hitting a 2-outer has no bearing on the next river you pay to see. Poker players give the justification of the long run and that they will eventually hit their flush because things tend to even out. You're probably nodding your head if this seems familiar or if you have said anything similar. After all, the conviction that the flush card is absolutely, positively, inevitably due is compelling. Things do tend to even out in the long run. But note the two qualifiers in that sentence: tend and long run. Tend means gravitate or lean towards. It does not mean must. For mathematical certainty, the term long run implies an infinitely long run, and to be honest, you don't have that much time. In any relatively brief series of events, you shouldn't anticipate the results to match your expectations. The horrible fact is that everything does not have to balance out. There is no obligation on the part of the cards to treat you fairly. The majority of individuals, including poker players, struggle to understand this compelling mathematical reality. Because they believe they are due, they are more prone to raise their bet amount or make borderline calls. Of course, acting on the idea is what hurts your finances, not the belief itself. Playing cards are made of either paper or plastic. They do not have memories. They do not know that you just failed to fill your flush again. They are being shuffled by a dealer or a machine, and the order in which they emerge in the past has no bearing on their order in the future. Each hand is independent of all preceding hands. The probability of filling a flush is not changed by previous outcomes. Here are a few examples of this fallacy in poker. Professional poker player Havad Khan pushed all-in during the 2007 WSOP main event with pocket queens, while Rami Bukai called with aces. Bukai reportedly held kings only a few hands prior, but the ESPN broadcast didn't show this hand. Khan was very fortunate to flop the remaining 2 queens and win with quads. "It's very difficult to put you on aces and kings in one orbit," he murmured to Bukai when the hand was completed.
You can understand, it's so hard to put you on aces and kings in one orbit. I mean, do you hate my play?
Khan apparently believed that his queens must be strong since he couldn't fathom how Bukai could get kings and aces so soon. This suggests that even some professional poker players can't get their mind around the fact that each hand is completely independent of previous ones. Number 2. Say you're dealt your favorite hand 6-7 suited, which can be a powerful hand but should usually only be played carefully and in late positions. Maybe this hand had been good to you in the past. Regardless, without additional information, it should almost always be folded pre-flop in the face of heavy aggression because small suited connectors are speculative hands and every new hand you play has an outcome that is not determined by past performance. Do not commit the gambler's fallacy, in this instance the hot hand fallacy, and throw that hand into the muck. Number 3. Say you're at a table with a player on a hot streak, winning every pot that they get into and seemingly making every draw. Imagine they go all in on a draw-heavy flop. You are confident that at the moment you have the best hand. If they are on a draw, you are going to win the pot far more often than not. This decision seems straightforward enough, but in the real world, extenuating factors often play into our decision making. Goading from other players at the table, mood, and superstition can all distract us from making the right call based on the laws of probability. And it's easy to see how players fall into the gambler's fallacy time and time again when emotions run high. Here are a few tips to avoid this fallacy. Number 1. Understand the underlying logical fallacy. It's important to remember that the outcome of one hand does not affect the likelihood of winning or losing in subsequent hands. Number 2. Do not chase losses. It can be tempting to try to make up for a loss by betting more aggressively in subsequent hands, but this is a classic example of the fallacy. Instead, stick to a predetermined betting strategy and don't let short-term results influence your decisions. Number 3. Do not fall for hot streaks. Just because a player has won several hands in a row, it does not mean they're more likely to win in the future. The same goes for losing streaks. Number 4. Do not overestimate your skill. It is important to recognize that poker is a game of both skill and chance. Don't fall into the trap of thinking that you are immune to the effects of chance just because you are a skilled poker player. And number 5. Educate yourself. Understanding the statistical probability of different hands and situations can help you make more informed decisions. By learning about the math behind poker, you can better understand the role that chance plays in the game. The gambler's fallacy is most seductive, but it is a fallacy. Don't get suckered into thinking that you are due for anything other than random outcomes. And don't throw money into a pot based on this belief.